So across all the deals that we've talked about, Open Door, States Title, and now Hippo, there's this kind of synergy between the attractiveness of the investment opportunity and identifying a best-in-class technology startup and the strategic value that a large real estate corporation can derive, both by partnering with that company, but also by investing in that company through Fifth Wall. And so I think there's these kind of proof points that it almost felt like we were unlocking in the early days of Fifth Wall around Open Door, States Title, and Hippo. But there actually was another one as well that I think was equally profound, and that was Blend. Now, Blend is obviously a little different than the last three businesses we've talked about because it is really software, at least today. And I know that Lennar at the time was looking to originate mortgages faster and cheaper and easier for the consumer. So that was a true RFP process. And can you kind of walk us through what was the RFP process Fifth Wall ran for Lennar?
Yeah, absolutely. So Lennar came to us and said, our Eagle home mortgage business originates about 10 billion in volume, but it does it at an average origination cost that's above the industry average, which doesn't intuitively make sense, right? Because they've already acquired the customer. So if you already own the customer because you sold them a home, you should theoretically be able to originate below industry average. But because of some of the legacy processes and analog use cases of the Lennar Eagle systems, the origination process was actually more difficult to do in a cost-effective way for Eagle than other average industry players. So Lennar came to us and said, we need to rethink how we do this in a more cost-effective way. So we looked at 4 kinds of businesses for them in a comprehensive RFP process. We looked at full stack mortgage origination businesses. We looked at mortgage brokerage businesses. We looked at non-bank lenders that were originating other types of lending products that could do mortgage. And then we looked at software providers to the mortgage space.
And just to unpack that a little bit, so what that means is that Lennar, right, a home builder that's trying to expedite and facilitate the origination of mortgages to their prospective home buyers, they identified a pain point, right? They identified a pain point for their business. They believed that technology or some technology solution could solve it. And what it feels like we did was kind of unpack that and say, if you were to cohortize the different kinds of businesses that could solve this in different ways, they all fall into kind of these personas of technologies. And then as we ran that RFP process, one company kind of saliently became really clear as the winner, right? The company that would most expedite this and most facilitate this for Lennar. How did that become obvious?
In the process, we ended up looking at 18 companies, and we looked at them across major metrics, including product quality, management team, capitalization, how they were going after their market. And it was very quickly clear that Blend Labs, the business we ultimately partnered with, was going to be the clear winner in the mortgage space. Blend was run by Nima Gamsari, an iconic founder who built his career in financial services and technology. He understood the mortgage market extremely well and was a world-class technologist. And what we also realized was Blend was the optimal company, both with which to partner and in which to invest. It's that constant balance between that ideal outcome, between pairing a commercial deal and consummating an investment transaction. And what we saw was that Blend was at that unique inflection stage in its business as well, where a transformative deal with the business like Lennar would catapult it into a different sphere of influence than where it was at the time. At the time in which we first engaged with Blend in 2017, it was selling into banks like Wells Fargo and First Republic and others that originated consumer mortgages as part of their banks. We saw that and said, the mortgage transaction that you originate for your banking customers is analogous to the same kind of mortgage that a captive subsidiary of a home builder would originate to its home buyers, and realized that the product extension was very natural. So after about 18 meetings with companies that we looked at across the space, and in those 4 buckets I mentioned, it was very clear that Blend was going to be the best ideal target for this transaction.
And so what did we do?
So we approached Blend and said, we want to structure a bespoke transaction. And I remember the management team looked at us and other VC investors looked at us and said, oh yeah, you guys can look at investing in the next round. And you and I were in the boardroom and said, no, we're not going to look at investing in the next round. We're actually going to look to invest in the last round and structure a deal that would be a win-win. And that win-win was really Fifth Wall's ability to deliver to Blend revenues and business from our home builder LPs, starting with Lennar, and on the Blend side, being able to help them expand their product outside of selling into core banks and actually now sell into a different type of constituent base. The transaction took about 3 months to ultimately pen, but at the end, what we realized was this was the beginning of a new chapter for all of our businesses. For Blend, the company was seeing a new business vertical that the team hadn't even contemplated really before we first facilitated the initial introduction between Lennar and Blend. For Lennar, they saw that there was a unique opportunity in the very near term to save real operating expense of their Eagle Home mortgage business. And I think for Fifth Wall, we witnessed that our model was beginning to really prove itself out repeatably, and using these RFP process, we would be able to structure these once in a lifetime and truly transformative transactions.